overlooked health problems, it's just brushed off, is constipation. And I'm going to show you in this video how this is associated with things like joint pain, even depression, cardiovascular illness, risk of mortality, even testosterone. And I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but I'm going to show you the research right now. Now, I do have some notes on my screen here because this is a deep one. I don't want to miss anything. I want to give you everything right here. This is a fascinating one. So at the most basic level, obviously, defecation is it's getting rid of garbage, right? That's obvious. We all know that. But let's just think about this from a more simple perspective. What happens when you don't get rid of your garbage at home? It starts to smell, things start to grow on it, it becomes infested, it starts to interfere with what's around it. And that's quite literally what happens with when we are constipated. It's the same idea, because this is garbage in the body, and I'm going to explain to you in a minute what that actually means, because there's so much more in it than simply poop. Like, what is poop? And I know that sounds bizarre again, but remember, it's such an important health factor that nobody talks about, that's affecting your hormones, your ability to lose fat, detoxification, and more. And so at the simplest level, so we are going to go deep here, but let's not lose sight of the big picture here. It is the body getting rid of what's not needed, what is harmful, and also things like fiber, which are actually supporting the excretion process. Now, before I show you these links to these other complications and what you can do about it, how can we start to resolve constipation, I want to give you a very quick summary of what is actually in your feces. Yeah, this is probably something that you've never thought of before, and I think this will shock you. It will shock a lot of people. So of course we have our food waste, but there's hormones. So metabolites of all hormones, cortisol, testosterone, estrogen, that you don't need, and if they hang around, will cause damage. Virus, bacteria, other pathogens. So again, same thing with the garbage. If you leave it around, if you leave these pathogens laying around, they're gonna cause problems in the body. Literally cellular garbage. So cells are constantly being broken down. That's a normal process. The body wants to get rid of that waste, what is created when we break down cells. And actually about 2 to 15% of your feces is cell lining. Inorganic minerals that can't be used. For instance, minerals that you might get from processed food. There's also lipids and unabsorbed fats, like cholesterol. So again, you don't want excess or unusable lipids and fats just hanging around. So on average, about 150 milligrams per day of cholesterol is excreted from the body. This is where I'm happy I have the list. I don't want to miss any of these. Toxins like microplastics, alcohol, metabolites of pharmaceutical drugs. All of these need to be excreted, because if the body hangs on to them, they will cause damage. And this is important here. This will show you why fiber is actually a very important thing. Toxins like microplastics and more, which, by the way, remember, if you have too many of these, that will definitely decrease testosterone. It will definitely increase your fat. But these toxins, they are largely, most of them, carried by your bile, which is released from your gallbladder and liver. So your bile carries these toxins into your digestive tract, and it attempts to combine that, if you will, with your poop so that they can be excreted. But here's the catch. You need something to actually attach those toxins to your feces, or else those toxins will be reabsorbed, and they are more harmful when they are reabsorbed. What attaches it? Fiber. So lots on social media about fiber, but it's beneficial. And if you don't feel good when you consume it, that doesn't mean it's bad. That's actually a clue that you need to work on your gut health, because you are lacking tolerance. You should be able to eat this without feeling like crap. And many more. Even the smell is a clue because that can indicate byproducts, which can be harmful, like indoles, hydrogen sulfides. And again, this is going deep, but these are important clues, potential toxins which are causing damage. So we need to deal with this. And indigestible foods. Now, before I show you some things that you can do to address this, let's just quickly summarize. Constipation, very overlooked, actually critical, because your body is trying to get rid of garbage. What is that garbage? It's things that aren't required anymore, things that can cause damage if they hang around for too long and therefore interfere with other markers of your health. And to show that it's not all bad stuff in there, there's things like fiber which support that excretion process. So kind of three components to it. And now, before we get to some potential solutions, what conditions is constipation associated with? Well, this will shock you. I'm just going to give you a couple examples. So here's a few. Depression, in fact, one study found a 2.08 increased risk of depression in the presence of constipation. Constipation was associated with a 23% increased risk of stroke, increased risk of all-cause mortality, literally higher chance of death. Because again, just think about it, it's interfering with the regular health of the body. It's associated with cognitive impairment. And last but certainly not least, joint pain. And this one is so fascinating. So why? Well, I want to tell you a quick story. So my 93-year-old grandmother was ready to go for knee surgery. It was, yeah, she's old, but amazing for her age. But her knee was so bad she couldn't walk, couldn't move on it. They thought she needed surgery, so she was ready to go. She then took an antibiotic for a different purpose, and her knee pain went away. So what happened? Pathogens, including bacteria, can travel to the synovial fluid at your joints, and cause pain and inflammation. So what happened was there was a bacterial issue in her knee. She took the antibiotic, which killed everything off. Now, that I'm not saying antibiotics are the solution. This is proof of principle that these pathogens can cause joint pain. Now, on the flip side, there's also research showing that probiotics can alleviate joint pain. So there you go. Such a wide spectrum here. The body is really just fascinating. So how can we begin to address this? Well, there's many important areas we need to consider. We need to consider supplements and habits, because yes, sometimes these are necessary. We need to consider our general diet. Remember, I spoke earlier about whether or not you can consume fiber. If you can't, that's an important clue. You need to address that. And we can also talk about lifestyle habits. And there's at least 10 plus tools in each of these categories. But tools which I separate by difficulty, if you will, or level. So what's your ability? If you're a beginner and you're just starting out here, we're going to start with basic tools. If you're more advanced, or maybe you're a coach working with athletes, many of these athletes probably have these lower levels dialed in, and so you can start them at higher levels. So I'm just going to give you two examples. The first one sounds so simple, but think about it. Who actually does this? Try and separate your meals throughout the day by 3 hours. So that means not constantly snacking throughout the day, separating by 3 hours. What does this do? It allows your gut to clear out some garbage. If you're always putting things in it, your digestion has to turn on and it doesn't get a chance to spring clean, if you will. Important things happen when we don't eat, and we need to give the body a chance to do that. So try and go longer between meals. 3 hours, that's a good number. That's enough time for motility to happen, that food moves through, as well as all the other pathogens, bacteria, hormones that we don't need, etc. So here's one more tool, and it's actually a probiotic. Yeah, not shocking. It's funny on social media, this often gets I would say it's kind of one end of the spectrum or the other. A lot of people feel they're the number one tool, the solution for everyone. Other people feel they're completely useless. There's oftentimes a lack of discussion in the middle. Here I am right in the middle. Yeah, a lot of good data showing if you have constipation, which now you know is so much more than just constipation, a good high quality probiotic helps with this. Now, I will tell you that there are different probiotics and some are better for other people. It depends on the strains. But for now, if you're a beginner, just start with a really good, high quality probiotic. And one of my favorites is ATP Labs ProBio 7. Well, the last thing I'll say about probiotics, maybe you're already wondering this. A lot of people say, well, they're a waste of money. I just poop them out. Yeah, and that is partially by design. Probiotics are considered transient residents, which means they don't stay a long time, but when they're there, they change the environment and they change the signaling. And so they don't have to stay to exert their effects. It's kind of like the fiber. It doesn't have to stay there to actually have its effect. It just attaches, binds those toxins to your feces so that you can get rid of it. Similar here, we see real changes from the probiotics being there, interacting, influencing, and then you poop them out, and that's completely normal.